money. Personally, in my eyes, this isn't one of the more important types of wealth, and let me explain why. 4,000 weeks. 4,000 weeks, that's the average human lifespan. If we analyze commodities such as gold and silver, their value inherently derives from how rare that commodity is. Now, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word wealth? Let me know the first thing that came to your mind down in the comments below. Now, the answer that probably popped into your head and the one that people usually think about is money. But what if I told you that money isn't the only type of wealth and that there are actually 4 different types of wealth? That's what we're going to cover in this video. I'm going to break down 4 different types of wealth, and at the end we're going to try and figure out which one is the most important. Okay, starting off with the most common type of wealth, money. Now, money is a type of financial wealth that we're all quite familiar with. It pertains to the assets that we own, the income we earn, or the money we hold in investments or bank accounts. Assets are defined as things that are useful or valuable or hold monetary value. Assets can include things like a car, a house, a business. These are all assets. Investments are assets that you acquire with the intention of generating income or appreciating, i.e. increasing in value. Now, financial wealth is one of the more important types of wealth. I'm an analyst who works within finance, so I'm naturally inclined to put financial wealth higher on the list of priorities. It lets you pay the bills, purchase necessities, and allows you access to more options and opportunities. It lets you open up doors. Let's say you want to open up a new restaurant. You need sufficient financing. You want to buy that house, you need to be able to show your income and be able to pay the mortgage. That's all financial wealth. People see money as the ultimate end goal, but it'd be better if we reframe the view we have of money and see it more as a tool instead of the ultimate end goal. Try and see money more as a tool. It's just a tool to help you along the way. Money is simply there as a means of transaction and not the ultimate end goal that we should be striving for. Now, there are so many ways of making money. The primary way people have of making money is their income from a job that they have. That money usually comes in weekly or monthly. If you want a video on some of the best ways I think there are to make money outside of your job, let me know down in the comments below and I'll make a video on that. I'm not going to go too deep into those in this video, but ultimately, instead of making money the end goal, I think some of the other types of wealth that we cover in this video are more important long-term goals. We'll talk about them later in the video and you can let me know if you agree. Now, the second type of wealth we're going to look at is social wealth. Personally, in my eyes, this isn't one of the more important types of wealth. Societal status is nice to have, but it doesn't take priority over some of the other types of wealth. Now, an important distinction has to be made. I'm not including close-knit family relationships within this section. I'm looking more at the status of a person within society. Societal wealth, or your status within society, is determined by things like your network, the people you surround yourself with, your relationships with those people, and the people you know. For example, the CEO of a FTSE 100 company likely hangs around with other CEOs, board members, politicians, and heads of state, so he has a higher social capital than someone like me. He has access to people and services that someone like me doesn't have. Now, if we combine, say, both high financial wealth and high societal wealth, then in a more serious case, where let's say the son or daughter of someone with high societal wealth and financial wealth gets a serious illness, they're able to utilize their resources to get the best doctors, fly their son or daughter out to somewhere like Switzerland, use the cutting edge of technological innovation within the medical and healthcare industries, and get the best treatment possible. More importantly, their son or daughter now has the full attention of teams and teams of scientists and doctors. Someone like me isn't able to have that choice or option, and we can see today with the stress and pressure that the NHS is under that there's no way the level of treatment and attention in those two scenarios is the same. Now, that could potentially lead to a far better survival rate, and that's been afforded to you through the combination of high financial and societal wealth. Social capital allows you access to more support and opportunities, and it's generally highly correlated with financial wealth. In general, the trend is that the more financial wealth you have, the higher your societal status and capital. The access that social wealth affords you also helps you in your personal and professional development. Let me explain. There's a saying in the corporate world that goes, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Essentially what it's saying is that your technical skills and knowledge are less important than your network, and the people you know. This could show itself in something as simple as nepotism. If there's a job opening at a large bank or financial institution and your father happens to be a senior managing director at the bank, he could tell you everything you need to know to get the role. He could tell you what ATS system they use. He could tell you how to create a report with the recruitment team, what topics to talk about, the interview panel's favorite sports teams and restaurants, and to top it all off, he could put in a good word about you to the recruitment team. Now, you may not be as qualified or proficient at the role as some of the external applicants, but as a result of your social status, i.e. your father being a chief executive at that financial institution, you've got inside knowledge that may help you land a highly coveted role. Now, I'm not going to say whether that whole scenario is right or wrong, but social status can be very beneficial in those kind of circumstances. Now, like I said, some people include the relationships you have with close family members in this category, in this section, but I think that the category of close-knit relationships falls into the next section. Ralph Waldo Emerson, he was a prominent 19th century American essayist, and he had a quote that said, "The first wealth is health." Now, if we go by what Waldo said, then we'd put physical health at the top of all four of the types of wealth we cover in this video. And when I refer to physical health or wealth, I'm talking about both the mental and physical aspects. If you have a conversation with older people, then they say that they've realized over the years that their health is the most important thing they have, and that the younger generation should value it more while they still have it. And it's a very common case of not appreciating something until you don't have it any longer. In today's day and age, especially with remote work and working from home, sitting in front of a screen for 8 hours a day, it's very easy to push physical health to the side and leave it as an afterthought or not even think about it at all. But health seems to be one of the more important types of wealth that we're going to cover, because the other two we spoke about are renewable. The removal or loss of financial wealth or societal status isn't irreversible, whereas a major health issue due to years of neglect and inattention becomes a more serious long-term issue, and that can ultimately lead to more serious consequences. A person who perhaps has fallen on hard times financially is in a better position to recover if they're in good physical and mental condition. It becomes infinitely more difficult if the limiting factor to success is a lingering health problem. Just like we invest in index funds and stocks and bonds, there's an investment that humans need to make into their bodies as well. Ultimately, the better physical and mental health a human is in, the more likely and able they are to be able to achieve all the other types of wealth as well. Now, I'm not going to go into all the ways in which you can improve your mental and physical health, but what I do know is that without decent maintenance, you won't be able to achieve the other types of wealth. So that should be important enough a reason to maintain a strong physical and mental edge. Another key aspect of physical health are the close relationships we have, the relationship you have with your mother and father, your brother and sister, your spouse and your kids. The importance of these relationships can be seen through numerous studies that have been done to study the enduring regret that people have as they get older. And the most common type of enduring regret are those in relation to social relationships, whether that be neglecting those relationships or working at the expense of those relationships. Now, I'm naturally a data guy, and I'll link some of the studies down in the description below. I'd recommend giving them a read. They're actually quite interesting, but the sheer number of people who say that neglect of their close relationships is an overarching and enduring regret means it deserves more attention than we give it. Physical health is also an indicator of hard work and success. I've yet to meet a CEO or high-level executive who intentionally neglects their health. Also, I remember reading in a book, a client is more likely to take you seriously if you look like you take good care of yourself. It acts as a barometer of respect. Rounding off the four types of wealth, we come to time wealth, arguably the most important of all four. And let me explain why. All the other types of wealth are recoverable or able to be rebuilt. Money can be earned again. Physical health can be improved and worked on. Societal status can be rebuilt. If we analyze commodities such as gold and silver, their value inherently derives from how rare that commodity is. Gold being rarer than silver makes it more valuable and expensive. There's less gold available to be mined on Earth than there is silver. That's what makes it more expensive. Now, if we use that lens to look at time as a commodity, then analytically, it should be the most valuable resource you own. There's only a finite supply of time a human has. It's non-refundable. You don't get it back. The Sunday that just passed will never come back. You'll never experience it again, and statistically, you'll never have a day that's exactly the same. If you happen to live to be 80 years old, then you'll have lived just over a total of 4 4,000 weeks. 4,000 weeks, that's the average human lifespan. Assuming you sleep 8 hours a night, you'll have slept 27 years of those 80. That's just 53 years of waking time you have. If you work a 9 to 5, then that gets cut in half again. That's why I think time is the most valuable commodity we have, because by design there's only a limited supply, and that supply can't be replenished. Unlike gold or silver, it's non-recoverable. And that's why I sort of have an aversion to the idea of a 9 to 5. I'm not inherently against hard work or working for extended periods of time, but trading hours of your life for days on end for ultimately someone else's benefit doesn't seem to be the best long-term way of going about things. So make the most of your time, it will run out eventually, and that's why I put time wealth at the top of the list of all the 4 types of wealth we cover in this video. Now there's undoubtedly the right balance of all 4 that you'll have to figure out for yourself to live a nourished and fulfilled life. And now that we've covered the 4 different types of wealth, I wanted to end with a story called The Mexican Fisherman and the Investment Banker. Some of you may already know the story, so if that's all, then I'll see you guys in the next one. For those of you who haven't, here you go.
An American investment banker was taking a much-needed vacation in a small coastal Mexican village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. The boat had several large, fresh fish in it. The investment banker was impressed by the quality of the fish and asked the Mexican how long it took to catch them. The Mexican replied,
"Only a little while."
The banker then asked why he didn't stay out longer and catch more fish. The Mexican fisherman replied he had had enough to support his family's immediate needs.
"I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take siesta with my wife, stroll into the village every evening, where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos. I have a full and busy life, senor."
The investment banker scoffed.
I'm an Ivy League MBA and I could help you. You can spend more time fishing and with the proceeds buy a bigger boat. And with the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could buy several boats until eventually you'd have a whole fleet of fishing boats. Instead of selling your catch to the middleman, you could sell directly to the processor, eventually opening up your own cannery. You could control the product, processing, and the distribution.
Then he added,
Of course, you'd need to leave this small coastal fishing village and move to Mexico City, where you'd run your growing enterprise.
The Mexican fisherman asked,
"But senor, how long would this all take?"
to which the American replied,
About 15 to 20 years.
"But what then?"
asked the Mexican. The American laughed and said,
That's the best part. When the time is right, you'd announce an IPO and sell your company's stock to the public and become very, very rich. You could make millions.
"Millions, senor. Then what?"
to which the investment banker replied,
Then you'd retire. You could move to a small coastal fishing village where you'd sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take siestas with your wife, stroll to the village in the evenings where you could sip wine and play your guitar with your amigos.